special guest,
Suzy Hotrod.
This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Power Motion Picnic Hour. As always, I'm your host, Dave. Alongside me, as always, is
Trevor.
Hey, Trevor, what's going on?
Not much. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing good. Doing great. Excited to be back on pod. I'm always excited to be here with you and with our listeners across the northeastern United States region and Belgium.
It's an exciting time right now. I'm always curious what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, we have an exciting episode this week, as we just heard in our intro song. Our special guest Suzy Hotrod joined us, and we had a great talk.
Great talk. Memorable for a lot of reasons. I think one that will stand out is Suzy does not currently like running.
Our first counterpoint style guest, I suppose, and she didn't really present the argument against running. It was just a skeptic's approach.
Yeah, skeptic's view of the running world. And she brought up some good points. And, you know, like we always talk about, it's a personal thing. And whether you like it or dislike it, who are we to say?
Yeah, I mean, so we're going to get to that pretty quick. Do we have any business we should cover first?
I think we got some mailbag. Why don't we go right to the interview and then we can come back to it?
All right, we're going to hit the interview. We'll do some mailbag on the way out. Cue the transitional intro to the interview music. This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour. We have a little song that we do.
Cool.
A theme song. So the theme song will play,
Okay.
and then it'll come right to us, and then we'll say, "Hey, Suzy, thanks so much for joining us on the Power Motion Picnic Hour."
Hey, thanks, Power Motion Picnic Hour. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, yeah, no, we're super stoked. We usually have our guests do a quick introduction and say their name and anything else they want to say about themselves. But if they want, you can just say your name.
Sure. I'm Suzy Hotrod of the Gotham Roller Derby, and I have a complicated relationship to running. So I hope that we can really dig into that tonight.
Oh, good. Well, we might be able to help, but if we can't help, I think our listeners might be able to help, because we have a pretty active listener mailbag.
Correct. Yeah. And I think one thing we try to do a little bit differently than other running podcasts is we're just not as knowledgeable about running. So we're constantly surprised by things that we learn from our listeners and guests. So if we can't answer anything ourselves, we'll probably speculate on air, and then we'll also reach out to the listeners to give you a real answer.
Yeah, this podcast is mostly just me crowdsourcing training advice for marathons.
Nice. This is like my radio show on WFMU, where the listeners know more than I do.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fun that way. Yeah, there's no expectations.
Yeah, it's like, it's DIY punk rock culture, right? Where there's no division between the audience and the stage. And so we're applying that to this is the DIY version of radio, right?
Good metaphor. I like it.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
I'll clean it up in post. But yeah, I mean, so as far as your complicated relationship with and history with running, is that what you said?
Oh, it's just like I hesitate to say that I hate running because I'm on a running podcast, but we can talk more about it. I'm really curious what you have to ask and what I can offer.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we all have a similar background in running, because Trevor and I ran track in high school, and I think you told me once you ran track in high school.
I did run track in high school. I ran track in grade school. I loved running in grade school. And then I did a little bit in high school. And then socially, I just lost the interest in that group of people. And I just totally quit sports altogether by the time my teenage rebellious hormones were at their fullest. I was not wanting to be on the school bus at Saturday morning at 8:00 to go to a track meet. So I retired from that world. And then for some reason, I used to be, at one point in time, I was able to run. And now I feel like whenever I run, my body wants to die. But maybe you can encourage me. Maybe that you get over that hump. I don't know.
Maybe.
Roller skating doesn't have the same feel as running. So
we make no guarantees. I'm as as mediocre as I am at running, I'm even worse at roller skating. But I do own a pair of skates.
You did hurt yourself pretty badly on those skates,
Yeah, that was
as I recall.
I thought I broke my ribs early.
Oh, wow.
That first day of the pandemic where they when they told anybody who worked in an office or whatever, when they were like, hey, you're going to be working from home for a while, that Friday on my way home, I went to Paragon Sports in Union Square and bought a pair of roller skates.
It was like the last one left.
Maybe, yeah. And then I don't know, at some point 2 or 3 weeks later, on 23rd Street, I skated into a stop sign.
Whoa. Maybe you were meant to play roller derby.
Oh, when I was younger, I think I would have been okay. But now one stop sign was almost prevented this podcast from ever happening.
Oh no.
But
I hope you don't run into stop signs while running. Maybe you're probably fine now.
I haven't yet.
I fall a lot during running though. I almost hurt myself just this morning running. I took a pretty big crash, tripped on a route and fell.
You know what's funny? I think that my experience in playing roller derby makes me more resilient to not fall and trip, because I have slipped on slippery things and not eaten it. Like I've been able to like recover, and I have tripped over things and narrowly escaped death. So I think that my reaction skills are pretty strong from roller derby. So maybe that would be in my favor if I began running.
So, I mean, we're not here to try to convince you to love running. That's definitely not our thing.
This isn't an intervention of mine. Okay, good.
No. Yeah. You can have, it's actually kind of cool. You're the first guest to join who does not like running. And so anyway, I think what you're describing, like I think roller derby, from what I understand, and skating, like the lateral movements, the balance, all of that would serve you like really well on trails, where a lot of it's like just about keeping your balance and stuff.
Yeah, I actually have run in Forest Park in Queens, for any of your listeners who do enjoy that place of running. It is a really soft, nice place to run with a lot of things that you could possibly trip on. But I will say, for scenery, it is quite a nice place to go.
Oh, cool.
And were you one of those kids? You said you were running in sort of middle school to high school. Were you one of those like middle school kids that could run like a 5-minute mile?
I never made it to the mile. I was only really good at the 400 because I wasn't fast enough for the sprints, but I wasn't endurance enough for 800. So the 4 was my sweet spot.
I think it's pretty hard to run 400 meters or 400 yards, like flat out 400 meters.
Well, you get away with not being as fast as the sprinters, though.
That's true.
I don't know. It's like, but I couldn't do hurdles. When I did once, the hurdles was like the most sad showing of my life. And I was never asked to do the hurdles again in the 1 year that I ran freshman squad track.
I think, Trevor, you ran hurdles. That comes up about every other week.
every few episodes, my hurdling career comes up. It was my best event, but I think it was because it was kind of random. And similarly, I didn't have to be quite as fast as the sprinters, like 100-meter sprinters. But like, I think it's like you have to have like a certain space of your stride. And if you have it and it's timed correctly, then I think you're good. I think that's basically all I had, was like my stride lined up with the like 1, 2, 3 jump or whatever it was.
I have bad rhythm, not a drummer either over here. So maybe that's why I was not excelling at that.
That is another thing though. And you left that out of your introduction. You are also a musician.
I am a person who can barely play guitar. I don't know if I would call myself a musician. I'm definitely a music lover.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think most of that's the other thing about, we tend to have people on this show who overlap as musicians. Every guest has been a runner and a musician.
I think that's probably rare though.
Yeah.
I mean, they usually the jocks and the rockers don't usually rumble together.
It's funny that the thing you said about like why you quit track, because you just like at that point in your teenage years, you just didn't want to be on the track team, right? Because it wasn't where you were at socially. And the funny thing is I had that same thing with sports when I was a teenager, because I played tons of sports growing up, and then socially it just wasn't making sense anymore. But it's funny, I joined the track team at 17, and it was like the first time in years that I'd felt like I was enjoying the social vibe of a sports team.
Wow, that is pretty unique. Were you playing in bands at the time already, or no?
Yeah. I had like my own bands in high school, like a couple different bands, like one the first couple years, one the last couple years, and
oh wow.
Like, yeah, we had, I mean, one of the, let's see, one of the captains of the year that I was a senior, he had a punk ska band in high school. And then one of my close friends, he was a captain the year after I graduated, and he was in my band. So yeah, it kind of just maybe just the scene where I lived, it was like a cooler running scene.
I went to Catholic school. Most of the people on the running team were in the pro-life club.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, see, our track team was the place you could hang out and talk about music, like in between races and stuff.
There was one girl who I really liked, Maria Holst, because you always have to say everyone's first and last name when it comes to high school, but she just loved U2 so much. And I liked her. And I was like, Maria's cool. She likes U2. And she used to just sit alone and listen to her Discman over and over again, listening to U2. And she just loved them.
Wow. I mean,
I like Maria. Yeah.
I'm trying to think what U2 album that was. Was that like
It was
pop?
the Zoology. What is it?
Zooropa.
Zooropa. Yeah. In the 90s.
Yeah, I liked that one with Lemon.
Yeah.
I'm
then
not
the
familiar with
Depeche
that
Mode
one.
Greatest Hits came out, and that's all I listened to for an entire year.
Oh wow. I did
until I got into Britpop.
Yeah, that was big.
Mm-hmm.
That was big for lots of us. I'm gonna be over there soon. What's it called? England.
Oh wow,
Mhm.
So
fun!
I'm gonna try to pretend it's those days, as I do every time I'm there.
I would just pretend it was the 60s.
That's harder. The last time I was in the UK, we went to see the Rifles play in Glasgow.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and I was at the bar buying whatever a drink, and the bartender like apologized. She was like, "I'm sorry about the crowd. Like, it's not usually like this here." And I was like,
I
"These are
just thought
like."
you were like an old man who was trying to enjoy a nice night at the pub, and all these young
No,
music people were ruining it.
no. It was a really cool. It was King Tut's Wawa Hut, which is like a really cool club.
Oh my
She
god, what a cool name!
Yeah, she was saying this is a bunch of old geezers. I'm sorry, it's not usually like this. And I was like, no, this is.
Yeah, that's flattering then.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, no, I'm one of these geezers. I look good in this light or something.
Oh, okay.
I'm a
Nice.
geezer too.
So I just soft dissed you. I apologize.
Yeah, it's all right. It was a lovely evening. So
Rule 1 of podcast: insult host. Check.
it's one form. It's one traditional form of icebreaker, and as we celebrate all forms of running on this podcast, including dislike of running. So we celebrate all icebreakers as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking to push the boundaries. I guess another way we sort of come to enjoy running is we've sort of like thought about running as a lot of different things, like sort of outside of the traditional sense. So like a lot of longer running, and we've had our first guest was the popular runner Jim Pergolesi, who runs very long distances, 100+ miles, like in like yeah.
Wow.
And so, and not to say that you need to go right there, but you can do, like our last guest, Brendan, does like a 5-mile run where some of it he's walking because that's what he feels like doing at the time. So like, I think if you run and
how postmodern.
Yeah, you can just sort of more run based on what feels good. And if running does not feel good, just stop and walk for a bit.
I like it. That's like self-care.
The way
it's good. Listen, it's sort of, I think a lot of it's sort of Dave's running philosophy, right? Run by feel and listen to your body and all that. And he's actually
I'm terrible at listening to my body. I only have one setting, and it's go. If I listen to my body, I don't know if I'd be playing roller derby for as long as I have, which is now 19 years, although 3 of them were pandemic-y, but it's been a while.
19 years. And you won a national championship?
When I played the high level of roller derby, playing on the all-stars that traveled all over the world to play other cities, we had won 4 global championships during the time I played on the team. I stopped playing all-star level in 2014, and I've just been playing locally in New York City since 2014. I guess beginning of 2015. So I'll wrap it up maybe next year. We'll see.
Spoiler. Yeah. That's a big news reveal on the podcast. Right, I
mean, I say that.
Bombshell.
Who knows? It's like, everyone's gonna be like, it's the last tour. It's the last tour. It's really our last tour.
It's like Guns N' Roses has been doing their last tour
exactly.
now for 5 years.
Exactly.
It's like I like to often reference what's it, Clarence Darrow on this podcast, and I believe in the Scopes monkey trial when he's said it's like, about how the world was created in 7 days. It's like, how do you measure a day, right?
I have to pretend like I know what you're talking about. I'm so embarrassed.
I'm not sure I remember. I don't know.
I don't know, but yes, I don't know. I feel like roller derby is like dog years. So many things change in 1 year. The only thing that's constant is Suzy. I feel like I joke to all of the roller derby retirees that I'm going to make them a button that just says, well, I know Suzy. Who are all these strangers? Even I don't even know. Who are these new people?
If you watch enough seasons pass. Well, you invented your team, right? The Queens of Pain.
Yeah, we only had 2 roller derby teams in Gotham at the time, one for Brooklyn and one for Manhattan. And then I was at a Christmas party for roller derby and we were in line for the bathroom. And I was like, let's just add a 3rd team from Queens and we'll call it Queens of Pain after the Cramps song. And then that was history. And then there it was.
It's a great move. It's funny too because it is the coolest looking team visually, logo wise, and I don't think that's a controversial opinion.
No, yeah, I mean we get to be the black clothing, which makes it easy to pick out jerseys, and it has kind of like a little bit of like a kinky S&M undertone. Maybe to the outside eye, it might just be that our team is the color black, but we have some things with like little whips and crowns and stuff, so it's delightfully throwback kitschy. I hope we always hang on to that element as things grow and change.
It comes across very Judas Priest.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I used to have one of the most expensive pieces of clothing I owned was my little leather biker cap, like a la Rob Halford, which I purchased on Christopher Street at one of the finest leather goods stores. It really is like the most expensive piece of clothing I own.
I was just walking down Christopher Street yesterday. I think that store's still there.
Yeah,
The demand doesn't go away.
Yes. Well, it's a niche, it's a specialty. I went in that journey, I went into the Leatherman, which is the most famous one. And I was like, oh, and do you have gloves here? And then the worker was like, not in your size.
What?
And I was like, okay, I get it. This is your special store.
That's funny.
But that store smells amazing.
I'll go. Yeah, I won't just walk by next time. I'll go check it out.
Yeah, open the door and just take a whiff. It's like walking into a bakery, but it's all just leather goods. Like, ooh.
I guess I know. So I didn't think previously about convincing you to like running, but I do like that idea. I was at a local roller derby bout just 2 nights ago, and after the bout, I found myself talking to people about running, as I often do these days, and maybe explain to someone why they might want to run more.
Did you convince them?
They told me they were going to, and I think what I said was it's a little bit what Trevor said about just doing it by feel and just what feels good. But the other thing I tell people when they're trying to run longer than a mile or 2 miles, or whatever, is just to run really, really, really slow, like slower than you even think makes any sense to be running.
I might take that advice because in the times that I have run, I have found that after the first like 2 minutes, my body's like, wait, this shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't still be moving. I think I have to go to the bathroom. Why are we still doing this? And then if I continue to do it, I'm like, okay, I think I'm in the groove now. Maybe like,
oh yeah.
Is there a name for that initial hump of torture that your like brain is like, what is this? Why? No, this should be over now.
There probably is. And
yeah, I think some of it is just your body's cold, and like the more you warm up before, and then even then though, like doing, it's still hard. Like you still have to do the running itself for like probably a mile or 2 before you can actually feel like sort of over that hump.
It's definitely got it. Yeah.
Is that like a time thing too? Would you say it's at least 5 minutes, or is it a
you're right.
distance
You're
thing,
right.
or...
No, it's a time thing.
Do you think, do runners think about things in mileage? Like, how parents measure babies by months, and if you don't have a child, you don't understand weeks and months. Like they're always measuring in weeks, and you're like, is your kid 1 year old? And they're like 12 weeks. You're like, what? Okay.
It's a really good question. I think we like to think of, we sort of like on the Power Motion Picnic Hour, we'll sort of go back and forth a little bit. Sometimes we talk about distances, and other times we just talk about time. And I guess like there's pace that sort of brings them together. But I think in terms of like the running that Dave's talking about, where you just go slow. When I started, so I had run earlier in my life, but when I started running sort of again, a recent resurgence was beginning of last year. So like not that long ago, before I started running like more seriously than I ever had. And when I started out, I actually didn't know that I was going to be running. Like I asked my friend, I wanted to do this like long, I sort of pictured it as a hike first. I wanted to do this long hike up in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. And I said like to my friend who's really good at the stuff, you know, what would it take to do this? And so at first he just had me out like walking and stuff. And like a lot of it was just about like, go whatever pace you can. And if it was like, you know, really, really slow, like you just go super slow. Right. And then over time, it just like gradually builds a little bit. And then before long, he started referring to it as running. And I was like, oh shit, I guess that's what it is now. I'm sort of running.
Well, this is like a Yoda like mentorship.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful or if it had a point, but I guess it's all to say start super slow. Definitely agree with that.
One thing I have noticed in roller derby, when people retire, a lot of times skaters get into running because I think of the freedom to just immediately be exercising without having to have equipment or a commitment to other people. You can literally walk out your door and be doing the thing. And it has happened for many people who have retired that needed to scratch the itch of probably like, I guess, the endorphins from the exercise. But there have been quite a few people that have pivoted over into running. And I think it's the convenience of just boom and you're out and doing it.
You can totally, you can totally do it by yourself, but there is also like a community around running. And so like if you end up doing like I run a lot of these New York Roadrunners events, and like you see the same 5,000 people every race you go to.
It's an intimate 5,000. I'll tell you something. I work for the city. We do the water fountains during the open streets. And all those runners, they're so like fit and foxy. They get out there early in the morning and they're all running around. And like,
it's great.
I was like, do I need to learn how to get up early in the morning? Look at all these attractive people. They must all just be out running at 8 a.m. while I'm sleeping.
You don't even have to do it early. You could run at any time, although maybe the best looking runners go out at 8 a.m., you know?
Is there like a vampire running club? Maybe that would be right for me.
I mean, I run much more frequently in the evening. And there's plenty of people out there. Like I run along the Hudson River, usually like, you know, happy hour. And there's lots of people out there. And there's like running groups. I've mentioned like on here a few times. Sometimes I'll get overwhelmed by the running group from Paragon Sports, where just like 40 people in matching t-shirts will come swarming in every lane.
Oh, it sounds like there's rivalries. I like it. Now you're like scratching my competitive itch. I want to know like who's the heel, you know?
Well, it's Paragon Sports, I believe. If I'm the face,
I think we're like slowly building the case for you, Suzy. Like, why should you run? Like, you can start another badass team or of some sort, get some cool uniforms.
I went
like just walk parts of your runs, just like as a big group. I think that would be cool. Like with a lot of flair,
some swagger, yeah.
But I think a lot of it is just having a motivation, and the motivation needs to be your own, right? And for some people, it's what you're talking about, like getting those endorphins that they're used to. For other people, it's like, you know, getting in shape, whatever it might be. Like, just you have to have something that like makes you want to keep going out and doing it. And then ultimately you have to like grow to like the thing itself, which I think was a breakthrough that, I don't know, Dave, you and I maybe both had, like, as we started getting more serious about it. Like, I don't know, I just grew to like running a lot more than I ever had before, like as I got better at it.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always done it and I've always liked it, but I have liked it more maybe in the last, I don't know, on my 40th birthday, I just went on a really, really long run. That was
on
like
my 40th birthday, I took a bus to Carvel because it was the pandemic. There was nothing else to do.
Oh no, that's not, yeah. Which one did you get? Did you get Fudgy or Cookie Puss?
Cookie Puss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cool. It was an oddly romantic bus ride because no one else was on the bus. It was.
Did you eat the cake on the bus?
No, I was because you were like still terrified of like even being on a bus without like 3 masks on, you know. So.
Oh yeah,
it was a weird time, but it makes for a good story. I thought I was gonna go to Japan on my 40th birthday. Turns out I went to Ridgewood on a bus to get a Cookie Puss.
That's a great Carvel, though.
Yeah, yeah, it has some neon. It's a good retro one.
Yeah, that's a classic one.
Mhm.
Queens has all the best Carvels.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we have. Yeah.
Rough year for the Mets, but it's always a good year for Carvel. Another thing, well, but so I went out and just did a big run on my 40th, and I just started running like a lot more. And then what a part of what motivated me to run a marathon really was because I always used to say that I would never run a marathon and never could actually because I have bad knees. But I ran my first one in May, and what really motivated me, like above everything else, was I have like older musician friend who I really like a lot and respect, and he found out I was running a lot and asked me to run a marathon with him.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and then but then it occurred to me like, I should I don't want to run my first marathon with him. I want to make sure I can like get through one. So then I like trained up for one last spring and did it.
Wow, that's a big accomplishment.
It was very fun. It was really
It's
cool.
fun.
I had an awesome time. It was a little hot. It was too hot that day. That was the only problem.
Whoa.
Yeah, but it didn't, not everything went according to plan, but that's also kind of fun, like dealing with the challenge of like getting through it, you know.
Such a time commitment. Oh my gosh.
It's hard to get that many runs in. Like I don't think I have enough time to train right now to run it like a really good time, you know.
Wow.
Like a friend who's a really good runner recently gave me his training calendar, and he does 75 miles a week.
Wow. That's impressive.
But I never got close to that. You know, I think I was doing like, I'm trying to remember now what I was doing. I was doing like,
I can see why a running podcast might be popular because runners need a lot of entertainment during their 75 miles a week.
We've covered, we've discussed that a bit. And our former guest, popular runner Jim Pergolesi, who does 100-mile races, talked about he just listens to podcasts the whole time.
Is that the ultra marathon?
That's an ultra distance, yeah. But
okay, there was a roller derby player that used to run ultra marathons with her husband. They're like, I don't know how many miles. Well, how much is a regular marathon's 30 something? What is it?
It's 26.2.
26. And then what is ultra?
Anything above that, I think.
It's technically anything above that, but I'd say the first like standard distance above that is probably a 50K, which is about 33 miles.
And this person does 100? Like, does he just run to Philadelphia on the weekends?
He's training for a 140 right now.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a whole there's something called a backyard ultra. Have you heard of these?
Does it involve mud? Everything involves mud now.
It could. Not intentionally, not by design necessarily, but it's just like it could be like a mile loop, or it could be any distance loop that people just run for. Like you could do 100-mile format, or was it? I think one of our guests, Pierce, I think was doing one. Was it a last man standing where you just run until?
Do you know that's how roller derby started?
No.
That's how the beginning of roller derby was. It was just like an endless race around an oval until like the last one standing was the winner. But they found that it was really boring to watch, and the only thing that people liked was when people would crash into each other. And that's the birth of roller derby. I'm not great with years, but it was a long time ago. I want to say it was like the 30s or something when it began. But that's how roller derby started. It was just like an ultra race. Probably exactly like this. And then when collisions would happen, much like NASCAR, people were like, that's the part we like the best. And then eventually it turned into roller derby. I mean, it was always on wheels. It was a roller race, an endless roller race for days.
Could you see adapting a running race with some derby style, like contact and rules and stuff? Like, would that work?
I mean, rollerball was a fictitious game involving motorcycles and roller skates, so maybe it's possible.
All right.
There's always a little bit of elbowing and stuff in running, right? At least on the track. Maybe not on the road.
Even in like a mile race, it's pretty physical and psychological for sure. Like when you don't have your own dedicated lane, it could get nasty, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, I was certainly never fast enough to deal with that myself, but I remember a little bit.
There's like tragic spills during big races. That's like oh my god, when they're all at the front and they're like world contenders and they all gosh.
Yeah,
that's the drama of live sport.
Trends, yeah, any sport has that. It doesn't matter which one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
even something as pastoral as running.
Some have it like more than others, though. Like those epic bike crashes are just something else.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
So, despite the fact that I don't think we've successfully convinced you to like running yet, I'm I'm going to suggest a slight pivot because this week we asked Suzy to suggest our song of the week, and
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
and so Suzy got back to us and suggested 3 songs of the week, which I thought was great, which is a very kind of similar, a very Trevor move, reminiscent of the time he sent me a playlist with 14 songs.
When you're supposed to pick one.
Well,
I
I
have
had
different feelings of songs. It depends on the mood, but go ahead.
I sent a playlist
It was a great playlist.
rather than a song, but yeah, we listened to all 3 songs, or at least I did.
Yeah, I made a playlist out of them and ran to them today. So I guess Suzy, what was the first song? Do you want to tell us the first song you picked and why you liked it?
Well, yeah, the one that I always pick is kind of I would say it's a not expected song, but it's such a kind of like to me, it's like a jock jam. It just has that like music feeling of like that you're ready to like lift a giant barbell or something. Like, I can just shove anything through the ceiling. I'm so pumped. But I just love this band called the Nova Twins. They're from Britain, and it's 2 women in there, and it's kind of like it's not like industrial rock, but it's like it's pretty kind of like it's got a lot of techno sort of feel, heavy beats, like those heavy beats like you would hear at a gym, but not like to me there's 2 genres that are awful. It's grocery music and gym music. Like those 2, that's like where I hear like 90% of popular music that I'm like, oh, I don't know, is it gym music, is it grocery store music? And this is definitely not that. But yeah, the Nova Twins have this song called Cleopatra. And it's like I'm a boss bitch. Just like, yeah, like, but it's not cliche like so many of the other songs like that, but it's like, I'm a samurai warrior fighter, like, and it really gets me pumped. I actually think it's probably like too much. I think if I put it on to be running, I would like immediately be spent.
Run too fast.
It would be like the music I would put on to like lift an incredibly heavy weight or like push a sled or something, like it's just like it's like, to me, a jock jam. Like,
Yeah.
I love to say jock jams. That's like such a great, like, classic collection of music.
Oh yeah,
It's a great description for that song too.
This song was great. Yeah, I don't know. I would have called it like British hip hop or something. But
yeah, it's like kind of got a hip hop thing, but also like heavy guitars, like a lot of effects pedals, and like it's just bad. It's badass for lack of it's really badass.
I ran to it. I did it 3 times during my run today, and the first time during my like warm up when I was running slow, and yeah, it was fine for that. But then I was doing like incline strides, so I was like going up to like fast speeds and fast incline, and it was like perfect for that.
Yeah, you're a samurai warrior.
Yeah,
dancer,
I was like, I'm
fighter.
a boss bitch. Yeah, that's
You're
like
a boss bitch.
I was
I'm
running
Cleopatra.
up the hill. Yeah.
I'm a samurai dancer, warrior fighter. I'm a boss bitch. I'm Cleopatra. I'm a samurai.
It worked for me. It was a combination of the lyrics and the beat and everything. So that one certainly ran.
Oh, I'm glad you like that.
Yeah, no, that was, I mean, that of the 3, that was my favorite of a song to run to. So then, did it run for you, Trevor? Did you run to it, or you just listened to it?
It did. I ran to all 3 this morning. It definitely run for me. I'd say I couldn't add anything to Suzy's description, which I think it's just a badass song. I remember where I was running to it this morning, and I had like just it was a good sort of section. And part of the reason I remember is because it was right before another song came on, and that was when I had my crash. Oh
no.
I feel like this song,
I remember thinking like the other song is very like softer, slower song, and I was like, maybe there is something to be said about running to more like traditional, like to your point, like jock jam, like running, like what people would think like running music is, because I usually listen to like stuff that's not like that while I'm running. But no, I enjoyed it very much. Badass song.
And then the next song was a funny suggestion, only because I had just been talking to a friend about this one, and so it was fun, like the day before or a few days before. So it was funny that you suggested it. But the next song was
I chose it's such a popular song, and sometimes I feel like I'm supposed to be more esoteric, but I just really love the cadence of Wet Legs Chaise Longue.
Hey you, over there, on the chaise longue in your underwear. What are you doing sitting down? You should be horizontal now.
Because it kind of has this like bump, 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 sort of like heartbeat feeling. And I sometimes, like when I play roller derby, after you break out of the pack, that's like the highest intensity moment, and you need to get out first. That's the game. If you get out first, you control the game if you get out of the pack first. And a lot of times after I get out of the pack, I hear that song playing because it's almost like a moment of like resetting as you circle the pack and get ready to attack again. And so like I feel like when I'm in the moment, I can't think about anything else except for survival. And then when I break out and I need that moment to like kind of recalibrate, and it's like bump, 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 and on the chaise long all day long. And it's I don't know, it just feels like a good mental reset and alignment, sort of like a focusing moment. So it's not the same as like a crazy pump up, but it's more of like a focus up. And it's just that little bump, 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 bump. It just does it for me. I don't even like it. Just came to me one day, like as I broke out of the pack, and then I had my lap to recalibrate, and it was just like bump, 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 bump.
I like songs like that have, you know, like very different shifts in sort of their feel, and it goes from like the real simple like drum beat into like that cool riff, and the riff kind of like drags out a bit, so there's sort of like, I don't know, it goes from like a very like sort of staccato like choppy thing to something like, I don't know. I like that too. And once you know it, you're kind of like looking forward to it, right? So you can kind of get like pumped up knowing that guitar is about to come in and stuff.
Yeah, and it's overall just a light song, but it just has it's the driving beat. It's like that heartbeat moment. And I was speaking to someone about roller derby and about how I feel like when you watch like a sports movie or something, and they try to recreate this feeling where like there's like an eruption of noise outside, there's like a crowd going crazy, but in your mind it feels like you have a bucket on your head and you can hear nothing except for like your own heartbeat in that moment. And then the action happens, and then all of a sudden you're back in reality and you can hear the loud crowd. But there is a moment where it's like it's there, but you're totally ignoring it, like you have big earmuffs on, and maybe you can just hear is like bump, 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 bump. It's just like a really intense I don't think a lot of people have really felt that moment. I mean, how could you really like to be like, I'm performing athletically in front of thousands of screaming people? I don't think a lot of like average adults like get to participate in such an activity, you know, on a monthly basis like I do. But it is really thrilling, and when I've seen it like represented in like movies, and it is really, really, it feels like that.
Hells yeah. That's what I'm hoping the New York Marathon will be like, where people cheer for you the whole time.
Yeah, I just made like a blur of like exciting faces and like crazy cowbells and stuff.
Yeah, because when I ran the Providence Marathon, there were not that many people there. So it was nothing like that. It was more like just running.
No, I'm just laughing about The Simpsons because I remember the episode where Homer becomes the boxer.
Yeah.
And Marge is like, Homer, you have to fight back, and he's like, that the tree is right. What
that cactus is right.
That cactus, yes.
Yeah.
That cactus is right.
I think about that episode a lot. Now I'm then it was just Kid Mo.
Right. Oh my God.
Mostly
the cactus. Yeah. Everything's kind of there, but not really a reality. Oh, that cactus is right. I have to fight back.
He tries. He throws a punch, but it doesn't work.
No.
Shredder Tatum still beats him.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad I was able to work in a Simpsons reference.
I know. I can't believe it took so long, actually. We're running low on time, so we should mention the last song you picked was
oh yeah.
I think it was
I picked The Hellion by Judas Priest because I'm really just like a teenage boy in the 80s, I think. But I specifically chose this song because one time we played roller derby in Australia on a tour. We actually got brought over New York and Los Angeles, and somebody wanted to like this bill for us to go on a little mini tour playing roller derby, and we each got to pick an entrance song, like we're wrestlers or something, like pro wrestlers. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll pick this. And I was like, I don't know. I just think that there's a reason why Judas Priest the Hellion is so good. Like it's such a like if I was gonna walk into an arena like with smoke and maybe like
it is like an intro song. Like that's all it is.
It's
not even a real song. Yeah.
Right. It's only 10 seconds and then it turns into Electric Eye.
Weird editing in this part. Who knows what this part will sound like? And I'll put in sound effects and but like in Willy Wonka where they go on the boat ride.
I haven't seen it in so long. All I know is it always ends in some kind of ironic punishment, which is I'm fine with. But
I like the kid who gets punished as badly for chewing gum as the kids who are like seriously like shitbag kids.
Or the ones that are like stealing and then
like I'm trying to remember what they do. One of them's spoiled and like I guess that's not really her fault, but she gets murdered for it anyway.
They're making it again.
What? No,
it's coming again. I saw a preview for it when I was watching the Turtles movie.
Who's playing Willy Wonka now?
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember. I just have no brain for.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even know. You can just edit all this out. It's not a movie podcast.
It's either. Oh well, I like this part. It's either Timothy Chalamet.
Yes, that's it.
Is that really who it is?
I think. Wait, hang on. I'm just gonna straight up cheat.
That's the young person.
I think it's one of those like. Yeah, it is. It actually is Timothy Chalamet. Really well done. He's just everywhere.
They should let me make these films. I know.
And Chloe Savini will be in it.
Yeah. The whole cast of the film Kids is gonna be
oh no,
she would be great. She's a great actress.
It's true.
Yeah, but that's something we often on the podcast talk about the age of our listeners.
Do you know your demographic?
39 through 41.
39. Wow, that's a really I like that number.
That's what we say. But I think I've recently discovered that we're also very popular with the mothers of 39 through 41-year-olds.
Oh,
so
this really would help you get big sponsorship investors. You know a lot about your listenership
because it's so targeted.
Mm-hmm. Big Brother knows all about who's listening. I need a running product. I got all inspired yesterday. I was at the Jersey Shore over the weekend and I went for a walk and I was like, the ocean water was so cold. And I was like, I have to run so that I get hot enough to want to go in the ocean water. And then I did do a tiny little run. And then like today I was walking around and I was like, how did those Baywatch babes do it? The whole inside of my legs are like totally chafed up from running in a bathing suit. It's no good.
It's not designed for it. I know what's it called? Tracksmith just has like a new collection of things that are supposed to be designed that you can run in and swim in.
Oh, well, I need that product because my inner legs really suffered from that brief but sweaty run on the beach in a bathing suit.
And the only problem with Tracksmith is they're a bit pricey, but their stuff's all amazing. But we have a female correspondent who sometimes does test products in the portion of the show that we call the Gear Shed.
Oh yeah, I want to know if it can withstand like a leg chafe and then like a wave hit. Like, does the top stay on? Like.
So I did a 12-mile run on Saturday with our female Gear Shed correspondent, and she is edged 12 miles. She said it was great. She was giving me a Gear Shed review while we were about 7-8 miles in about how it was far superior. The bra,
it was like a little underwear runners, like
it was like the kind of underwear you can wear it as your whole outfit if you're a runner,
Yeah, like a sprinter would wear.
Yeah, it was like a 2-piece. It was like a bra that's also a shirt.
I don't think I think, Suzy, are you talking about the shorts that like the Olympic runners will wear that look
Oh.
basically like a bathing suit bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, these shorts were a little longer. They weren't long, but they were like
There was a shorts element to it. They weren't like
I'm still intrigued. I'm intrigued, and I think it's cool that you have a product tester. That's exciting.
yeah. Yeah, well, we need to make sure to test the female products as well. But that is what I learned, that the Tracksmith running bra is better than the Brooks running bra. So
I thought you were gonna recommend a salve or like a put deodorant on your thighs, kind of like.
I love that part of the opening of the film Juno, where they're doing like the montage of like Michael Cera's character, because he's like a cross country runner in high school, and there's a close up of him putting deodorant on his thighs. And I love that. I love his character.
There is a Vaseline thing with roller derby, but when you're breaking in new skates, you actually should cover your feet in Vaseline because it keeps them from getting ripped open by the leather skate breaking in.
Wow.
It works too. It really works. Yeah.
I remember in high school, one of our track coaches was like a marathon guy, and I remember when we learned that he taped his nipples to run marathons, and we did respond like immaturely as teenage boys to learning that, because that's the other thing is like teenagers who run don't usually run those kind of distances, right? They run they run track distances and cross country. Like not many teenagers know about marathon running, really. Have
you talked about the nipple chafe? Is that just a given for those that run long distances? I never knew. I just know of it from The Office.
I thought about whether I had to do anything like that before my first marathon, and I didn't do anything, and it was fine. So
okay, I guess it depends on the fabric you're wearing also. Maybe
the fabrics have improved since the 90s, when
all there was like scratchy cotton.
Well, yeah, since my old track coach Bill was running in wool. He's wearing like an old timey hockey jersey to run a marathon,
like a pilgrim outfit.
yeah, exactly. He needed the nipple tape, but now it's probably not as necessary. Although they still sell all that stuff.
I've felt the conditions that like if I kept going, like this was outside of a race, so I just stopped. But like if I was in a race and I just kept going, like I can tell like how it could happen.
Well, you've run longer distances, like you've been out there for 8 hours.
Yeah, but actually the one time I saw that happen to somebody was a 13-mile race, a trail race, and my friend and I were sitting in the parking lot afterwards, and this guy walked by and just blood all like both sides of his shirt. Just like that. Wow. It was serious. It was like, wow, okay.
You guys lose toenails like roller derby players, right? Have you lost toenails running? I lose them all the time.
I haven't.
You lose them skating?
Yeah, because a lot of times I think it's from getting kicked in the foot, or just having a skate that's really tight and having it bump. But losing toenails, the big toe, is pretty common. And then I don't know if this happens to runners, but hopefully and luckily it's really gross, but the new one kind of starts to grow in under the one that's going to fall off. And then you're like, oh my God, when is the one that's going to fall off? And it's like, oh,
there's so much crossover between roller derby and running. I think the difference between what you're describing though is you're a world-class athlete and like at the top of your sport, and Dave and I are not, but like elite runners, that definitely happens.
I mean, I'm more like Paul Newman in Slapshot. Like I'm kind of past my prime and like sort of just holding
you are
on.
now, yeah.
Because I have no identity outside of this place. But
but you used to be like Paul Newman in like if they made a prequel to Slapshot.
Yeah.
Used to be like that, which is probably a good film. I was talking to a friend who's a very fast marathoner, and he tried one ultra, and I think he said he didn't like it because his toenails fell off. And he was like, screw this.
Some of the roller derby skaters like paint on fake toenails. Like that's hilarious.
Oh wow. I know. I don't know if I've ever lost a nail.
Don't go swimming when you are worried about one about to fall off. It's the grossest feeling ever.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do it.
Don't do it.
I'm not a strong swimmer, so
maybe no triathlon for you. Maybe you might, who knows?
No, I don't know how to swim. It's a thing. I'm never gonna swim that far or any distance, probably. Maybe Trevor though.
I have very little desire to try that sport.
It's the water, right? F the water, not into the water part. I could ride the
So
bike.
I think, I don't know. I mean, this. Yeah, I don't want to say it's the. I feel like it's a different vibe too than the type of like running that I like to do too, which is not like super serious. I feel like a lot of triathletes just like, it seems pretty intense to me, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you couldn't be a light triathlete. I don't think
Like I'm just
be...
like a chill, like I'm just gonna like sort of, yeah, it doesn't really fit, I don't think, the triathlon scene.
Well, like our guest last week, popular musician and popular runner, Brendan Eder, talking about how during his runs, sometimes he walks a little bit. Like, what's the equivalent of that in the middle of the swimming portion? You know?
Yeah.
The doggy paddle.
Yeah, like I'm just gonna float around for a while.
They do have like, so people will do these, like there's like long runs and stuff that people will do, but there's also these things called picnics where people will do like a portion of like biking too. They'll like bike to a trail and then like go up and down and then go back to the bike, and then like, so those are sort of like 2/3 of a triathlon without the sort of structure and formality of a race. I don't know. I could see myself doing something like that.
That does sound kind of pleasant.
Yeah.
Also, I don't have a car, so I could see that.
And then
I have
like,
ridden
I
a
guess,
bike to Forest Park. Gone running, and then eaten ice cream at Eddie's Sweet Shop. That is a recommend for me.
Hey, nice. Well,
you could bike down to Coney Island, do your 100-meter run on the sand, and then take a dunk in the ocean.
If I have to test out that new Space Fabric bathing suit, running bikini situation.
Oh yeah, no, we'd be happy to hear your review as well, to add to the data that we're accumulating the old-fashioned way. If you're listening to this podcast, data collecting watch companies. Yeah, we can just do it. We can do it the old school way, word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth data collection. That used to be all there was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we probably are winding down and running out of time. I don't know, Suzy, if we've convinced you to begin a lifelong love affair with running from here on out.
I do think that my cardio would be greatly improved by adding in some kind of a running training, especially interval running, because that's the one that I just absolutely hate the worst. So I would imagine that might have the biggest benefit.
Okay. Well, yeah. Maybe we'll check back in with you about that, and we'll send you the special interval training playlist, 14-song playlist that Trevor made.
Nice. I wonder if I could even do like a track workout without dying. Like those were so
those are
difficult.
tough.
Like the multiple 400s, the multiple that was absolutely brutal. It would be awful, but
you mean like the ladders and stuff? Is that what they were called?
Yeah. Like one on, one off. Like,
let's do it.
Terrible.
Maybe we'll do that after the community mile event that we've been planning for 3 months, where we invite all our local listeners to the Lindsay track on the East River to race a mile.
I guess it's funny. Running can be a very solitary activity, but I think there's a lot of social elements involved. It probably makes it easier to stick with it.
Yeah, and you see the same people out there sometimes, and then like I said, there's events, and there's talking about running, and there's podcasting about running, which is one of the great simple pleasures of life.
Nice. It doesn't have a podcast. Does it even exist?
I never thought I'd have a podcast. I never thought I'd run a marathon, and here I am podcasting about my marathon running.
Wow. So what's up next for you two? Are you training for the New York Marathon, or?
I just qualified through the 9+1 program 2 days ago for next year's New York Marathon. So I'm running that in 2024. I think I'm going to run Richmond in November, the Richmond Marathon.
How about you, Trevor? What's coming up?
So I am running a race in September. It's my only race of the year. I did a bigger run in the mountains at the end of July that was like a planned sort of traverse, but that was just by myself. I was the only racer. September I'm running an actual race
against other people.
The Kilkenny Ridge Race. I'm running the 25-mile version. There's also a 50 where you run what I'm going to run, and then you just run back again.
What kind of elevation is there in that?
I don't know. We might get fact checked on this next week, but I think around 7,000, 8,000.
Oh, I'm cringing. This you can edit out what I'm about to say, but I would love for you to interview a person that's into Disney running.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's a
Because
great idea.
I had a roller derby teammate and I never knew that she had that in her. And after she retired from derby, I started to see on her social media that she was getting into this, and it is a very active scene.
I didn't even
Wow.
know about it. There's a lot
Oh,
of
they travel to Disney places, dress like Disney characters, and Disney organizes the event, and the medals are all like collectible Disney items. It's a very active.
Kind of like, sounds like
maybe,
the brony scene a little bit.
yeah, maybe we'll do some investigative journalism.
Yeah, but then
and
they
I'll-
run. They really do run.
I'm
Like
gonna
they
dress
don't
up
just
like
get they don't
Jiminy
just get
Cricket.
dressed. They don't just get dressed up. They like legitimately do the run, and it's like I don't know if it's just a 5K or if it's more than that, but it's a like active fit people. It's not just like
It's not a joke.
Well,
yeah,
we say we like to celebrate all types of running on the Power Motion Picnic Hour. So let's get her as special guest. See if
I
you
think
can
learning about the
reach out. Yeah.
counterculture of Disney running would be really really insightful. I think it would be fascinating because it's a world like the Disney culture in general is such an interesting, like goes really deep and it involves many people.
hmm
Yeah, I think maybe I'll go undercover and run.
Yeah, and investigative reporting.
Yeah, and go see what it's like, right? Go
Yeah.
get the man on the street, right?
Yeah.
I'll dress up as
Mhm.
who else is good? I haven't seen anything recent in Disney.
I don't know. I just keep thinking about Aladdin and how just
That's a good costume for running in, or like Mowgli from the Jungle Book. That's a good
would
one.
that be too easy? Yeah,
That-
you could
yeah.
just use that running bathing suit.
I mean, yeah,
to be Mowgli.
I'm gonna dress like Dumbo.
Both Aladdin and Mowgli, great runners.
Yeah.
Very well. Yeah, I feel like they do a lot of parkour and stuff.
I'm trying to remember characters. I'm gonna dress like one of the brooms from Fantasia.
I know I'm thinking, and I do think there are a majority more female Disney princesses that one would be running, but I'm sure that there's active male character
Oh.
dress as well. But
Okay, this is something we need to investigate. So I'm running the Richmond Marathon, but after that, I'm doing whatever this is. It seems like a good maybe winter thing. Go down to Orlando.
yes,
Mhm.
you don't have to keep this in the podcast. You could just put this in for a future idea. But I'm really excited to know
I-
about the counterculture of Disney running.
Well, whether this stays in or not, I like the idea.
Yes.
Well, maybe we should do it. We should sign off the podcast, I guess, because I think we've broken a nice new record here. I think maybe with our longest interview ever.
Oh God, then I have
think-
nothing to talk about for running. So do some good heavy-handed editing. And a
I'll-
dream is a wish your heart makes when you're fast asleep.
I knew we were going to learn something at the end.
Well, thank
Uh,
you for having me picnic party.
Yeah, Suzy, thank you so much for joining us. This has been wonderful. We enjoyed we enjoyed it and we learned a lot, and we look forward to following up with you to find out how your running life journey is going, or at least how your review about the running swimming clothes.
I'm glad we were able to talk about falling off toenails and nipple problems.
The important stuff, hard hitting. This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour. Wow, what a great interview. Thanks so much to Suzy for coming by. That was so much fun.
That was awesome. Thank you, Suzy. Yeah, excited to hear where this running podcast takes her on her journey. I can see a transition into the ultra world, given where we ended. Yeah, great talk. I think we wanted to close with a little bit of mailbag. We might have to push off some of it until next week, but there are a few things we should probably attend to. Anything you want to start off with?
No, I'll let you go first.
All right. Well, I think there was, it's one we have to hit because we heard from multiple listeners with mailbag submissions about the term strides for speed.
Oh, that's right.
And there was a comment from one dear listener, a live in person comment. I actually saw this listener, and he said he likes how when you refer to the workout, you always refer to it as strides for speed. And another dear listener picked up on this as well and had a question.
Is the workout named Strides or Strides for Speed? I've always just thought of it as Strides, with purpose defined as for speed. But maybe it is just shortened. I like how Dave always includes the purpose of the workout in its name.
Another favorable opinion of the term. So tell us, Dave.
I thought it was called Strides for Speed. And I'd never heard of it before. And when it was first suggested in the mailbag, it came in as, I suggest Dave do Strides for Speed, which was really just a sentence, apparently, where they were saying the workout and then explaining why I should do it.
It's like when it took us several weeks to untangle the mailbag submission about the regionalization of Stoner Rock. Listener Dan, the weekly update for 3 or 4 weeks running. But so I guess we've gotten to the bottom of that.
Yeah, and I've learned something, although I might keep calling it Strides for Speed. It's now I understand
it's a tagline now. I think
it's like what
that's what it is now.
What exercise is Dave doing? Strides. Why is he doing it? For speed, right? Like that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Well, we got to the bottom of that. Thank you.
Thank you,
listeners. That I'm happy to know, and might even adjust my behavior accordingly.
Let's see. And I think I might put off some pretty big updates around the community mile until next week. I think we need to devote a little bit more time to those. Just, I guess, listener know that they're coming. We've got some details beginning to be fleshed out, and a few updates on some related communications. But in the meantime, we heard from one listener who explained that the opposite of provincial, a moment where we got hung up last episode.
Oh, that's right.
At a very fortissimo moment of forgetting the word. And in this case, neither of us was able to think of it. She kindly offered cosmopolitan.
Cosmopolitan is the opposite of provincial.
I think she's right. That was the word I was grasping for, but unable. I kept on thinking continental for some reason, which is more a breakfast served at a Marriott than it is the opposite of provincial.
Yeah, I would suggest, if you can't think of the word cosmopolitan, go with the word metropolitan, which is not exactly the opposite, but well,
we had a Simpsons reference during our interview, and I always, whenever I'm sort of thinking about that, I always think of Marge in one of the episodes just saying, "Oh, how international."
Yeah, that's like us, really, with our northeastern United States and Belgian listening audience.
So yeah, what anything on your end, Dave?
I don't have any mailbag. I think that was it. So that's good. We covered that, and I covered a little bit of Gear Shed during the interview, and we covered Song of the Week with our 3 songs in the interview that Suzy suggested.
We covered a lot.
Yeah, we covered a lot. So I guess that's it. And I even mentioned in the interview that I just 2 days ago qualified for next year's New York Marathon.
Oh, it did come out in the interview, but congratulations officially, and massive accomplishment. You've been working hard throughout the whole podcast season on that effort, and maybe you could share for the listener a photo of you at the qualifying statue.
That's right. I'll share a photo. I have a photo of me ringing the bell that you ring when you've completed your 9+1. I ran real slow for about 11 miles, like really slow. And then I just ran like the fastest last mile ever, which was so fun. I was just
that's awesome,
flying by people. It was a kind of a nice, actually, a victory lap, I think we call it in the sports world.
Awesome. I guess we should probably wrap it up for this week.
I know it's a long episode and I don't want it to ever end, but I think, all good things have to, come to end, even marathon length podcast episodes. So until next time,
onward.
Your favorite of the few, with a mile of am special guest
Suzy Hotrod.
This is the Power